Hello everyone. Thought it might be helpful to have a little video on setting up breakout rooms in Zoom. So I've collected together pretty much every device I have, plus borrowing my wife's iPhone, and set up a meeting with myself up here in the left-hand corner and 4 students. Before I go into setting up breakout rooms, there's a few things I might want to do in terms of being able to record breakout rooms. Now this is something that I'm still experimenting with, so take that with a grain of salt as you're looking at what I'm going to tell you to do next. But before you get started, you want to go down to Manage Participants. And there are 2 things that you can do in Manage Participants that are helpful for the meeting. The first one is if the person is on a laptop, you can go in and you can allow them to record. And what this allows you to do is when students go into a breakout room, they can record the breakout room to their local computer and then email you that file or set up some shared folder that they can drop them into. So if you have a TA that you can put into each breakout room, you could set up for that TA to have the ability to record. Or you just might have it as a rotating responsibility of someone going into a group. So the other thing that's helpful here is if you do have a TA that's helping you with the meeting, you may want to make them host and then make them you a co-host. By doing that, you have the ability to do share screens and polls, but you don't create the breakout rooms. So by setting a TA up as the host, they can be in the background while you're doing your initial discussion of whatever it is that you want to say to your students, assigning students to breakout rooms, naming them with whatever topics. And so it's just a nice way to allow somebody else monitor the discussion. We're going to go ahead and set up breakout rooms without doing this. So I'll turn off Manage Participants and turn on Breakout Rooms. I get a little dialog box and I have to decide, do I want to assign my students automatically or manually? Automatically, it'll just do it randomly. Figure out how many students you have in the class, divide it by how many students you want in a group, usually 5 or 6 is a good number, and then you just set up. When you click Create Backup Rooms, it will then send the students off. So here the students are in the room, and I have a couple of options before I open the rooms. One, I can rename the breakout room. So for example, I might call one of the rooms and name it correctly. What are the key aspects, there we go, of teaching online? And my second question might be, what's it like to teach in a large online class? So by doing this, the title will show up in the students' breakout rooms. So it's just a reminder of what the question is that they're talking about. Now I managed to collapse my first window here, so I'll open that up so I can see my participants. And I see that now I now have the option to move people or exchange people. So if, for example, I sent people into a breakout room and it turns out one of the breakout rooms didn't get a TA assigned to it, I can go in and move that TA to a room, or I can exchange them. So if I click on exchange, I can just say, let's move Ingrid's iPhone to group 1. Or I can move someone to a group. So these are just quick ways that you can move students in between the various breakout rooms. Before I create the room, there's a few options I want to set. So let me move that over there so you can see me. One of the options is to move all participants into the breakout rooms automatically. Now I set this because if you don't, when you open the breakout rooms, a dialog box opens up and the student has to click on it before they're taken to the room. If they don't see it, they're not paying attention, they'll stay in the main room. So this is just a good way to push everybody out into the break room without worrying about, do they see the dialog box? I'll also allow them to come back to the main room because they may want to come back to the main room and change topics. So I can do that. They'll show up here. I'll show you in a minute what it looks like when they're in the groups, and they just show up as unassigned back in the main room. You can throw them into whatever break room you want. I'll also turn off the countdown after closing the breakout rooms. The default is 30 seconds. Again, what happens here when I close the breakout room, a dialog box comes up. They have to acknowledge it before they're taken back to the main breakout room. If they don't see it, they stay in that breakout room until the 30 seconds is over. So just a few options to set before you open the rooms. I can add a room. I can also recreate them. So let's say I did them manually, but I just want to throw them out automatically. So I can click automatic, and that'll recreate and reassign the students. When I'm ready, I open the rooms. Okay, so here I am back in the main room. And I, as the instructor, stay in the main room until I go join a discussion, a breakout session. And this is rather important to remember, because if you happen to have the recording on, it's still recording you while you're sitting here, taking a drink, getting up to run to the restroom. So you want to be cognizant of that fact. Now, so what will happen is your Zoom recording is going to end up with a large piece, 5, 10, 15 minutes, however long they're in the discussion room, of just you in front of the screen. One of the things I like to do is just stop my video. That way, this is what's recorded on the screen. I can then also go back to the Zoom recording and say, bring it into Panopto, and from Panopto record out that dead session. It does add a little bit of work, but it makes it a nicer video for the students. Now, if I do go join a group, the main room becomes blank. And so as I bop back and forth between the rooms, if I stay out of the main room, it'll just remain empty. If I come back to the main room, then go to a breakout room, I pop in, pop out. So you just need to be aware of that. So I can go in and I can join any group. Also, if I had any unassigned students, let's say students came in late after I opened a breakout room, they'll be up here and I can send them to different rooms. I have the options to move students or to go join a breakout room. So I'm going to say, yes, I want to join breakout room 1. One of the things that Zoom does is it automatically resizes itself. So now I got to find the Zoom window. There we are. I often, when I go into breakout rooms, I'll lose it behind an open window. So keeping as many windows closed as you can is helpful. So at any point, I can go to breakout rooms and switch to the other room. Again, for some reason, it shrinks the window down. If you're in full screen mode, it doesn't do this, so you might want to be in the full screen mode. But now I can just flip back and forth and check on the discussions. To be honest, I'll often just leave the students in there on their own to discuss and wait for them to ask for help. There's a way that they can raise their hand and ask for help. Then I can jump in the room and help them. When I'm about a minute out, I'll open up the breakout room window and broadcast a message to all. So when I click broadcast, it goes out to the breakout rooms. Now, you can't see it. It doesn't show up to me in a breakout room, but on the various devices that I'm looking at, it says, from Chris Johnson to everyone, we have about a minute. I give them the minute, and then I'll generally do something like 3, 2, 1. Broadcast that out, give them a couple of seconds, and then close the rooms. Closing the rooms brings us all back here. It stops the students' recordings in the breakout rooms. At least we think that's what it does. And then you're ready to go on with the meeting. So you've done one breakout room, you've come back, you've had some discussion. If you click on breakout room again, it will open up the rooms and have the students assigned to the same rooms. So you don't have to worry about them remembering which breakout room they were in or you remembering which room they were in. It will automatically remember that. Now you may want to mix them up again, which is easy enough to do. Again, you just click recreate and recreate all the rooms. And that'll send them off into new configurations. So that's all it takes to do breakout rooms in Zoom.